Welcome back to Extreme Voltage. My name is D. Melkonian. We are so happy you're back. We missed you guys for a couple weeks. We've got a jam-packed episode today for you. We're going to be debriefing that Denver Bronco game. We will debrief the Jaguars game, and we'll go all the way back to that overtime against the Saints. And we'll discuss all three games. But let's really talk about the main focus right now as we sit 2-5 after 8 weeks in the NFL. The Chargers are on the bottom looking up. And I'm telling you, this 2-5 team easily is a 5-2 or 6-1 team. Sad to see the state of affairs in Charger land. And I want to discuss it. I want to beat the horse right now. And let's really get cracking onto it, because this is unacceptable, right? You cannot have this type of team dominating the way they dominate in the first half, right? We're beating the dead horse, but let's just sit back on the couch. Let's talk it through. Let's be rational about it. Let's take the emotions aside. I know you're banging on that TV set. I know you're kicking that newspaper around. I know you're upset the next day when you're watching these highlights, but it's like it's every week. It's what slipped away from us, right? It's every week, how are we finding ways to lose? It's every week being the Atlanta Falcons and finding ways to lose a game. And this is very much deja vu all over again, right? Since last year, it's years past, the Mike McCoy years, the North Turner years. This has plagued the Chargers, be it in San Diego or Los Angeles. They've moved, certain miles away. They've moved 100 miles away, right? But they still haven't removed this curse of finding ways to lose games. It's haunted them through various coaches now, as I mentioned. It's haunted them through players. We thought this was more of a Phillip Rivers issue. At least some of us did, including yours truly. We gave away a lot of games last year with some really bad turnovers, some costly mistakes. It's a combination of a lot, but I want to talk about that today. You can't just say, hey, it's whatever, and the kicker missed it, and it was a bad interception in the end zone, or we fumbled right before the half. All those happened. Absolutely. Anthony Lynn was not there missing a tackle on that 55-yarder this week against Philip Lindsay going down the middle of the field, right? Anthony Lynn wasn't the one kicking that 50-yard field goal at the end of regulation to win the game in New Orleans, right? That wasn't him. These are major issues going on, and we got to find out what it is that's making this untick, and we got to find a way to fix it. The season's not over. If you're sitting at 2-5 and saying, "Oh, the season's over," okay, that most probably, it might be. I'm not saying the odds are great, but if you want to give in now and just switch the games off, that's on you. Besides being loving to talk to you guys, but I am a fan of this team. I love to watch this team, and I'm going to continue doing it because they provide a lot of entertainment. Unfortunately, they give you a little cardiac arrest at the end of the games, and it's not going our way right now. But at 2-5, if you want to give up the season right now, you're not a true fan. Let's work with this, because there is a way, right? There is a roadmap for possible 7th seed in that tough AFC. Is it likely? No. It really isn't great right now. They've got to go on a nice winning spree. But if they can pull off 3 or 4 wins in a row, hey, let's just take 1 or 2 at a time, right? But if we can pull off 3 and 4 in a row, this team is sitting at 5-5, right? Even 6-5 at one point. Now 6-5, and you're looking through another 5 games, we got a shot. Because this is a tough AFC conference, and teams are going to lose. And again, that additional 1 extra wild card playoff berth is in play. So there's a few ways of going about it. But let's go back and talk about what needs to get fixed, because there are things that needs to get fixed on this team. Otherwise, we are just seeing a complete mirage of what this team could be like. And we're seeing consistent letdowns in the second half. Let's go back to the team overall and why this team is losing games in the second half. Based on what I've seen through my years of watching the NFL and learning the game of football, either coaching and analyzing and so forth, there's a number of ways that you can look at this. The Chargers on the positive side are so well prepared and have done such great field study and team study and tape study that they're able to come off in the first half and they are able to dominate on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And you can go ahead and I'll back those statements up with every game we've had so far. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Denver. Look at all those games where we're in, right? We even had one. Dominating first halves. A lot of points on the board. Again, against New Orleans, against Tampa Bay, and against KC, putting double-digit leads on the board. And not just that, they were not shootouts in the first half. If you remember, that defense kept on coming and attacking that quarterback, be it Patrick Mahomes, be it Tom Brady, be it Breeze. They were getting attacked, and they were getting tackles for losses, interceptions, pick six, you name it. Turnover game was happening as well. Sacks were happening. That was a dominating defense we saw in the first half as well. So it wasn't some kind of shootout we were having and then we lost in the second half. We were dominating on both sides of the ball. Now, the second half has been this quagmire of problems, right? The second half is where coaches have to adjust. You've had all week to plan or make a game plan of how you're going to attack this other team, right? Excellent. You come in, you perform well, you execute on the field. No matter how much you perform, you have to execute. Your players got to play, they got to make plays. And they do for 30 minutes. What's happening in the second half? Well, a couple things, right? Let's look at a couple things. Number one, my question I'm posing is this. Have the coaches on our team, have the coaches with lightning bolts on their side of their helmet, have those guys made adjustments to counterbalance what potentially can be happening in the second half? Everything's going smooth for you in the first half, but what's coming in the second half? How would you self-coach yourself, self-analyze your team, right? And self-scout your team. Now, you've done A, B, and C really well. You have to anticipate what is the other side going to do in the second half to combat what they're going through right now. If you're running the ball on them, attacking 3, 4, 5 yards a carry and attacking it and blasting holes through their line and getting some good running play going, you got to anticipate these guys are going to toughen up on the box, right? And again, if conversely, if you're having a great passing day and you're dissecting those guys in the secondary, then they're going to do something to change it up. They're going to blitz you. They're going to put some more pressure on you, or they're going to add DBs in the backfield, make it a nickel or dime package where you have additional DBs on there, and those defensive backs are going to give you those tighter windows to throw and more problems. Or it could be a combination of both, blitzes and more DBs in the backfield to make those passing windows tighter. So are we doing a good enough job? I don't know. Is Gus Bradley doing a good enough job as a defensive coordinator to combat what's going to happen in the second half with all these comebacks? Consistent comebacks. It's not just one or two games. If you got Patrick Mahomes come back and beat me, okay, I got you. You got Tom Brady come back and beat me, okay, I got you. You got Saints coming back and with Drew Brees beating me, okay, I got you. Drew Lock? Really? You're going to have Drew Lock after having, 50 yards total offense in about over 3 quarters? This is a trend. This is a trend you're putting us into. Let's not forget the Cincinnati Bengal game, right? Potential rookie of the year with Joe Burrow, right? First half was getting butt kicked. Okay, he was getting rocked all over the field. Okay, so nice, he was staying composed and doing his thing, which he should be as a great rookie. But they were making some good work. The Chargers defense was making some good work against Joe Burrow in the first half. And what happened in that second half, especially the last 5 minutes, right? Straight down the field. Should have been a touchdown. We got lucky with that. Should have been a touchdown, and that could have been another come from behind game. So consistency in regards to our inconsistent defense in the second half, especially the waning moments. So number one, we identified coaching. That's a Gus Bradley issue, and that's Anthony Lynn issue, because you've got to monitor what's happening with the defensive coordinator. But let's not make it one phase of the coaching. Okay, really, it's almost a little unfair as well, because on the opposite side, offensively speaking, you can't clamp up. If you're up by 17, I get it. The smart thing is, in the second half, you're up by 17 points or so, or 21 points, we just saw ourselves last week. Now, at this point, you got to keep attacking. The point of the game is obviously when you're leading is to drain clock, right? You got to be a farmer. You got to milk the cow. Drain that clock, right? Drain, milk it, right? Great. But the other team knows you're going to do that, right? That other defense knows you're going to run the ball first and second down because they want to take that 35 seconds on the clock each time. Yeah, they know that. So they will play it accordingly. And if you game script it like that, where the other team knows what you're going to do, well, guess what? You're going to find yourself in a 3 and out. Or you're going to find yourself on a 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, right? You're putting your rookie quarterback in a position against a offensive line that's been weathered and beaten and playing with second and thirds, which we have. Look at our right side, right? Balaga's been out. Trey Turner's been out. We have Pipkins in there working it through. We've had a number of offensive guards coming to on the right side now. They're on their 3rd or 4th offensive guard. So no, you've got issues. I'm not saying those guys maybe not as good players, but they haven't been playing with that offensive line cohesively. So they don't know, and that's good. They're going to be out of sync, right? Let alone the talent level slipping your 3rd and 4th guys. So yeah, that's going to be a problem. Now you're putting up Justin Herbert in a situation that he's got to deliver on a 3rd and long, which any NFL quarterback is going to have a hard time doing that. You put Russell Wilson back there. You put Aaron Rodgers back there. You put Brady back there. All these guys on 3rd and long, that defense knows what's happening. Right? And on 3rd and long, that's where it's going to be more problematic. And I give it to Herbert, man. That guy has delivered on all these 3rd and longs. It's amazing how much he's delivered with his back against the wall. And I'm going to say him individually because, some great plays have been made on the offense, but he has been the one, the torch that's been carried here. He's the one that's converting these difficult 3rd downs without major turnover. So great stuff on that end. And he's impressed me so much, man. He's just playing awesome. But the coaches are not putting that offense in the second half in good positions to convert and to make first downs easier, to drive the field, to milk the clock even more so, and to make put some more points on that scoreboard because that's what you need. This week, let's go back to that Denver Bronco game, that second half drive that Herbert threw that end zone pick to Mike Williams. That can't happen, right? That's a mistake with the quarterback, and that's a mistake with play calling, and that's a mistake not getting 3 points on that board. You didn't have to do that. You can have gotten your 3 points, and now you're at a 9-point a game situation. If these guys score, even with an extra point or a 2-point conversion, they're still not going to catch up to you. You got to think about that. That's coaching. So that's one aspect of it, right? I really am upset about the coaching issue, much like a lot of you are, right? Much like a lot of you are. Second phase. The players. What's happening in the second half? And this is mainly on the defense, okay? What's happening in the second half on our defense? Well, I tell you what's happening, what I'm watching, is I'm seeing that front 4 having problems, okay? The consistency of that pressure is going away. Are we getting tired the second half? Are we not having a good enough rotational in the second half with Isaac Rochelle, Nwasu, Linville Joseph, Jerry Tillery? Are we having an issue? Damian Square? What's happening on that side? That fearsome foursome is not putting maybe enough pressure. Our quarterbacks are maybe their quarterback, I should say, is maybe throwing it quicker. So if that's the case, that's a secondary issue because if he's going to throw fast, man, I don't care what D line you have, he's going to get rid of that ball quick, right? So at that point, what's happening to our linebackers and our secondary, right? Are we playing nickel with 5 DBs? Are we playing dime package with 6 or more DBs? What's happening on our coverage linebackers? Are we missing something there? I know we have Drew Tranquil out. I know we have Big Derwin out, and that's been killing us. I know we had this issue with the safeties, and we'll talk about Desmond King trade in a minute. But it's not going well back there. Casey Hayward this year has slipped. A lot of challenges to Casey Hayward's side, and he's still a decent ball player and he's doing a good job, but there's moments that we've had a lot of problems on that side. Mike Davis, same way, had a great pick 6 a few weeks back against Tampa, but again, some problems on that side as well, let alone Nasir Adderley. I'm not impressed right now, Nasir. We've been having a lot of problems on that side. I know he's pretty much a rookie. He's a second-year guy that really didn't play much at all in the first year, and he's feeling it. He had a really nice play a couple weeks back with an interception, but we got to have more consistency. We got to have more coverage back there to make sure these deep passes aren't getting by to us. Look at what happened against the Denver game this last week, right, in the second half. That's got to go. Rayshawn Jenkins has been playing really well. And I think he's been the catalyst on that defense. He's been playing really, really well on that side. So we'll see how that goes. We got a lot of young guys playing back there now in regards to, and again, we'll get to Desmond King in a moment. But the players, it might be a player issue as well. What are we doing in the second half with players? Are they not at their peak? Obviously, they're tired. It's a long game. But we got to look at that. Before Bosa went out with a concussion this last week, last few weeks he's been battling knee, I guess it was knee and ankle and elbow injuries, bicep injuries. He's been having a lot of those kind of problems, but he's also been very, very winded. So these are things to look at and see what we can do, and hopefully we can get better on that player standpoint. Maybe more depth is needed, better preparation, better conditioning is needed. I don't know, but that's another problem. So those are the two areas of concern that I'm having, and quite honestly, we'll talk about Tom Telesco in a moment, but those two areas are crucial. And Mike Badgerly, okay. Another problem with Badge, right? He's been a lot of misses this year with extra points, with crucial field goals. That's been a big problem for us. He's got to get better. He's got to shake off these issues. Special team wise, gave up that touchdown a couple weeks back against the Jaguars. These are problems to try to fix. So these are concerns in regards to coaching. Gus Bradley should have been let go a couple weeks ago. These comebacks have been way too many. Anthony Lynn should have made the right call, tough call to make, should have let go of Gus Bradley, moved on, and try to improve this defense. That didn't happen. And now he's at a point, and this was this last press conference, I believe it was a few journalists were asking the questions. He got a little uptight, of course, who wouldn't, asking about what can change, what can happen about the coaching situation. And he flat out just said, hey, it's too late now. We can't change up and fire coaches midway through. Where we're at, we got to finish it out. Well, yes and no. I get it. If you fire now, if Tom Telesco go ahead and fires the whole staff now, everybody's gone, that's going to be tight, right? Who's going to take over interim? Could be Shane Steichen, right, the offensive coordinator. He can come up and start doing something. I'm not sure who else. Pep Hamilton is a quarterback's coach. I don't think he'll take it in regards to, but either one of them. I just don't know how much pedigree he has in regards to coaching in the NFL. But in regards to that, it could be one or the other. Or somebody else. But yeah, that's going to be a tough. It looks like a lame duck situation. Really, you're pretty much at that point saying our season is completely done and we're just going to work on getting a coach for next year, which I think at this time at 2-5 might be difficult to do. Let's just kind of hang tight and see what happens in the next 4 games. But I'm going to give it the 3-4 games. Now, if this team drops to 8 or 9 losses in the next few weeks, then it's time to make that change. Then it's not necessary to keep Anthony Lynn in the staff, because at that point you need to specify as an organization and make a statement that we are moving on from what we had. And the culture that we have is not working for us. Let me go back and say something. I like Anthony Lynn, and I don't know him personally, but I like how he coaches. Looking from the outside in, I like how he coaches. I think obviously he has a good communication style, ex-player that knows how to talk to these young cats, and I think he does a good job of that. Coordination-wise, I don't know how he is with those other coaches, but I like the way from the outside looking in, the way he coaches these guys. It's a different type of player now in 2020. There's not the same type of Bill Parcells type of coaching back in the 1980s where you're hard as rocks against these guys. They didn't like it, then you get them out of the organization. It's kind of different, right? These guys really lead the organizations now. They're the mainstay. The coaches just come and go. So I thought with that aspect, I thought he was doing a good job. Now there's a problem. There's a cultural problem. Once you start losing and finding ways to lose consistently and not come back and make it a statement and make some good wins, then you've got a cultural problem where I don't care how good that coach might be, potentially, there's got to be a change. And I think that's where we're at with this team. So let's look at the next 4 games. Let's see how those pan out. If we can roll 4 in a row, man, this is good, right? Now we're looking at 6-5, and we're going, okay, now we got a chance. Let's stick with the program. It might have been a lot of the injuries we had and some bad luck, and now we got a shot to get a wild card, and this could be all moot conversation at that point. But if this thing continues to crumble, then we've got to look at it and under a microscope and say, okay, what needs to change? Because there are potential candidates next year, and Eric Bieniemy is one of them. And I know you've been reading about it. You've probably been seeing it. Ex-Charger Eric Bieniemy from University of Colorado that was drafted here back in San Diego, under the tutelage of Andy Reid and that kind of explosive offense that they run in KC, and of course before that in Philly. And Bieniemy has had some great work as a running backs coach, I believe back with Minnesota as well. And I might have missed 1 or 2 other stops he made before Kansas City, but I remember he also was coaching Adrian Peterson back in Minnesota Vikings. So look, that will be the guy potentially to pencil mark in as the lead guy coming in here, because I like the offensive mentality. If he brings Andy Reid's amazing offensive mind in regards to having a stud quarterback like what you have now in Herbert, you identify that as your guy, then that's the coach you need to travel this journey. Because without a stud quarterback, you're not going to be hoisting any championships in the NFL. Very difficult to do so. It's not the 80s anymore, where you have a really strong running game and a strong defense, and you can have game managers per se. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. And I don't have to rattle off names of these guys that are game managers, and they're able to hoist one for you. But that was all because your defense and your running game. No, that doesn't exist anymore. It's all about the quarterbacks. And if you disagree, great. Look at all the last 5-10 years of Super Bowl championships, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Without the QB, you're done. And one thing I didn't like about Anthony Lynn is when we all saw it and how awesome Justin Herbert was, not just as a fill-in because somebody else was hurt, but how awesome, how amazing he came off and started his career with a huge bang. You got to identify right then and there you got something special. And I think by him making those comments about the turnovers and some other stuff he was saying, I think it turned off a lot of people. And I'm not sure how that was in the locker room. And I'm sure he's trying to protect Tyrod Taylor. That's his guy. And I get it from Buffalo. But I also thought it was a little bit of disrespectful. I think he needs to, just outside looking in, I thought he had something special there. And he knows he had something special there. And I think he could have done a little better effort publicly to support his young quarterback. Anyhow, that's just me looking outside in. And just a few things. But I think you need a head coach that really recognizes the talent that we have in Justin Herbert and what to build around him. Number one, to protect him. Because if he's not on the field, nothing's happening. You can give me all the superstar talent you want around him. He's not there. Give me some protection. And I'm not just talking first-line protection. I'm talking about second-line protection as well. That guard or tackle coming in, that's going to be the second string, better be the guy that knows how to protect this kid. So that's crucial. In regards to Tom Telesco and this trade for Desmond King, now, if you're going to talk about grading this trade, forget about it because the Chargers lost. This was not a trade where it's even. Somebody just got a great player, right? Somebody just got a great player. The Tennessee Titans grabbed a really nice safety, and he's a punt returner as well, and he could do a lot of things. He's great against the run, really decent against coverage. I'm not sure what the problems were in LA. I'm not sure what the issues were. I know he had a suspension this year. I know he had a suspension last year. I am not sure what the mentality is. I know he was complaining about not getting playing time. I know he was complaining. I'm sure internally he was upset when Chris Harris came in from Denver this last year and they committed so much money for an older player, which I'm still kind of surprised because with older players, Chris Harris, Brian Bulaga, Trey Turner, I guess injured player more or less, really not older. But with older players, you're going to start seeing a lot of guys not playing because they break down a little bit more than others. Younger players have a little better, I guess sometimes a little better of bouncing back from these injuries more so than some, and they've had maybe less injuries in regards to the NFL wear and tear. So I thought giving that much money to Chris Harris and bringing him on, that's exciting, right, to see it. But I don't know. Maybe it should have been more of a Desmond King relationship where they were going to extend him instead of looking from outside to bring in for an older player. I'm not sure. We still have to see Chris Harris. Really haven't seen much with him. So hopefully he comes back this next week or the week after and we can kind of see what kind of impact he'll have. Yeah, that Desmond King trade for that 6th-round pick is nothing, and that hurts us. But that's something where they felt as though the person has to get, it's not just we needed to get something for him, so we cut him loose early. I don't believe in that because a 6th-round pick, okay, fine, it's a 6th-round pick. I'd rather have that player in a backfield where we have injury-riddled issues, right? We already have Desmond out. So why are we, Derwin out. So why are we going to have this where we're going to lose Desmond King as well? I'd rather keep him, let him go through this year. I've got depth there. He can come in there as my slot, as my safety. He's a transitional player. And why would I do that for a 6th-round pick if I know I have a chance to at least still be in the competition for the playoffs? Because you can make the same argument for Melvin Ingram. Ingram's going to be gone next year. Not going to renew him. So how come they didn't send him off? They didn't find a nice trade partner there. If you get rid of Desmond King for a 5 or for a 6, you're going to get rid of Melvin Ingram for a 4 or a 5. right? If that's what they wanted to do. No, this is more of an issue about him not maybe adjusting well or him not being the right culture in the right environment for the Chargers. So I think that's the issue on that. Again, it's conjecture. I don't have any type of proof. There's no evidence. They haven't talked about it, which is cool. But I think looking outside in, these are the things you can kind of stare at and see where we're at. Looking at the Saints game a few weeks back against Drew Brees, I got to tell you, Herbert just was phenomenal, right? I thought phenomenal. 20 out of 34, 264 yards, 4 touchdowns in the game, right? Amazing. Just had a heck of a game. With no pressure, by the way, 17 out of 20. 233 yards with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. So that was really beautiful to see. He was pressured 17 times in the backfield. Kid really played one of the best games I saw this whole year. Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson continued to share the backfield with 26 carries together. Again, actually, Jackson had a really good night that night. He had 15 carries for 71 yards, and I think you're starting to see him as a primary ball carrier here. Kenneth Murray continues to do really well. 5 tackles last time as well. He was targeted 4 times, gave up 3 passes, but just for I believe 15 yards on that one. And he had 1 pass block. So Kenneth Murray continues to shine and continues to do well on the defensive side as well. But that was a great game by the offense. Unfortunately, just came up short. What an amazing throw at the end of regulation, deep down to the left sideline for Mike Williams, who literally climbed up a 12-foot ladder and came down with that ball. Gave a perfect opportunity for a great ending with the Badger kicking it through for a 50-yarder, which just sailed right, and that hurt us. And from there, of course, you give Brees that opportunity, and then here we go. We lose in overtime on that field goal. So sad to see that one. That was a tough loss, but one whale of a game. Against the Jaguars, I thought Herbert, again, came out and played phenomenal. 27 out of 43, 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, and those 3 were all on 20-plus yard touchdowns. It was pretty amazing to see. I also had 6 rushes, 66 yards, and a touchdown with no turnovers, which was pretty amazing. He continues to really spotlight Keenan Allen. Had 13 targets in the game, caught 10 for 125. So really, really nice on that end. Of course, the defense on the Chargers side, Robinson, the running back for the Jaguars, is really a great player. Really good story this year. 22 carries, 119 yards with a touchdown. Had 4 receptions for about 18 yards and also a touchdown. So second half, I thought he really played really well and kind of took it to the Chargers defense on that end. Otherwise, I think they did a really great job against Minshew. Again, second half had more opportunities for Minshew, but the first half bottled up, really put a lot of pressure and a lot of nice hits to him. So defense played really well on that end, and luckily they were able to survive with that 10-point win. Pretty scary for that punt block for a touchdown earlier in that game. So special teams issues got to get fixed up. And lastly, for that Denver Bronco game this week, losing it 31-30 with no time left on the clock, and that quick touchdown at the end of the ball game really, really deflated us. A couple of pass interference calls, one in the end zone, which was really, really sketchy, and that probably should not have been called on that 4th down play, unfortunately, but it happened, gave them new life in first down, and from there, a quick little pass to the right side and got it in for Drew Lock got it in for a quick little score, and then they kicked it with a point after, and they were done with it as a walk-off touchdown. Really hard to swallow that one, especially being up 21 points. We talked about it earlier today, and that really took a little bit of sails off this team. I want to see how they bounce back. That's a tough loss. That's one of those losses where either the next week you are still in the dumper and you're not able to get through it, or you're going to have to bounce back hard and blow it up this week. And they got the Raiders, right? They got the Raiders. This is a divisional foe, arch enemy, the Raiders, and they're playing really, really well. This Raiders offensive team is pretty strong juggernaut. I mean, they've got Josh Jacobs on the outside receiving threats. They've got Darren Waller right now playing really well, Hunter Renfrow, Nelson Aguilar. These guys are playing really, really well, and it's been pretty exceptional to watch. Darren Waller leads all targets right now offensively with 61 targets. He's caught 45 passes for 372 yards and just phenomenal. Just phenomenal player in that tight end position. Renfro has been targeted 34 times, has caught 25 for 309. Nelson Aguilar has had 15 receptions so far for 292 yards, and he leads all the Raiders with 4 touchdowns receiving wise. So doing a really good job on that end, coming from Philadelphia. So they've got a really strong offensive potent attack, especially with that running game with Josh Jacobs. I think you're seeing some good stuff here. He's already ran for 523 yards here halfway through the season with 5 touchdowns so far. So looking really, really strong. He's got 25 passes. He's caught 18 for 122 as well. So that offense can bring it, and that defense is playing pretty well as well. They had a really good game plan against Cleveland this last week, and they shut them down to 6 points only. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Hey, this is it. This is what you got to come back with. We got to win one at a time. You got to make improvements for that that second half. Consistently play your game like you do. Make the adjustments. Keep your guys fresh. Keep the eye on the prize, and let's finish games out the right way. Let's focus. Let's not make this a runaway freight train where our season goes down the hill. And I want to see how the players respond this week. Is it those kind where they kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, here we go again? Or is it, let's make this work? And I want to see how the coaching staff, how their focus is. And again, all you're seeing is visual clues, right? All the nonverbal clues, watching on the sideline. I want to see how they react. Are they going to just close their eyes like the old Mike McCoy years and wish and pray that this game's going to go their way? Or are they going to be actively getting their guys to be aggressive and to finish it out and control their fate? And I want to see how this team responds. This is adversity. 2-5. It's the worst you can be right now, right? So all you can do is go up. They've still got a shot. The season's not over. It is kind of hurtful right now, but they got a shot to play it. So I want to see how they can respond back. We'll do it again next week. I'm going to get you guys one early next week so you can debrief this game with the Raiders. Hope you guys are doing well. I love the fact that you guys are listening to our podcast. We appreciate you. Share it with your friends. Let us know what you think. Please subscribe and like us on any platform that you listen. For Extreme Voltage, we want to thank my guy, Tyrell Mad Dog Wiggins, across the glass for taking care of us. Thank you for Kevin McLeod for our music again today, for Strength of the Titans and the Ice Giants. You can find Kevin at filmmaker.io. My name is D. Melkonian. We will see you next time on Extreme Voltage.